Over the years of playing chess and analyzing games of various players, I've noticed a powerful trick that often leads to easy victories: sacrificing important pieces. This clever tactic throws opponents off balance and appears to involve minimal risk. As white, you start with d4, challenging the center. In chess, opponents who are not well versed in opening theory often opt for seemingly safe, passive moves to avoid complications. The Sicilian Defense is one such example. Following the usual sequence of knight to c3 and knight f6, the game appears to be heading towards a quiet middle game. However, you have a more aggressive plan in mind. You play pawn g4, sacrificing the pawn to initiate an attack on black's position. Black captures the pawn, thinking they have gained a material advantage, but you proceed with rook to g1, activating the rook along the g-file and exerting pressure on black's position. In response, black retreats their knight, but you continue with natural moves, like bishop c4. Now, black realizes the potential threat of knight to g5 targeting their vulnerable pawn on f7. In an attempt to protect their position, black plays pawn h6, not knowing what lies ahead. As the center opens up, you develop your pieces and plan to castle queenside. Black finds themselves stuck, uncertain how to untangle their pieces. They attempt to maneuver their queen and pawn, but they are unaware of your impending powerful sacrifice. With bishop takes f7, you daringly sacrifice an entire bishop, luring black's king into a deadly trap. The sequence follows with queen to c4 check, king to e8, queen to e6 check, and king to d8. Then, you successfully castle queenside, leaving black in a paralyzed state. With black's pieces pinned and multiple threats on the board, the game becomes increasingly dire for them. The looming knight takes e5 further intensifies the pressure. Despite trying to close the g-file with g5, black cannot escape the impending catastrophe. You deliver queen f6 check to the king, pinning their knight. The next move sees you capturing the rook, sealing black's fate with complete devastation. The Sicilian Defense trap exemplifies the potency of sacrificing material for a formidable attack. Through astute strategic moves and unexpected sacrifices, you gain a significant advantage, and set the stage for a victorious outcome in just a few critical moves. Here's a trap for black in the queen's gambit declined. As white plays the initial queen's pawn move, pawn to d4, black initially accepts the gambit. However, after white plays c4, instead of holding onto the extra pawn, black counterattacks with a gambit of their own by pushing their pawn to f5. White often accepts this pawn sacrifice, pushing their pawn to d4. At first, it may not seem like white is in trouble, but the pawn on d4 restricts the knight's movement to c3, making it slightly annoying. White then plays knight to f3, attacking the pawns on d4 and f5. Black defends the pawn on d4, and now the pawn on f5 becomes bothersome, as it threatens to advance. White's usual move is to play pawn to e3, trying to eliminate the pawn on f5 and potentially trade queens to secure an advantage in the endgame. However, black throws a surprise with the in-between move, bishop to b4 check. White responds with bishop to d2, expecting a bishop exchange. But instead of the anticipated exchange, black plays pawn takes e3, forcing white's bishop to capture it. The bishop can't recapture with the f-pawn, or their pawn structure will be ruined, so they usually capture the black bishop on b4. Now, white hopes for a queen trade and a favorable endgame. However, black plays another unexpected move, pawn takes f2, constantly introducing these surprising in-between moves. Now, white's king must move since it's under check. If the king captures the pawn, they lose the queen, so they move to e2. In this position, it doesn't result in an immediate checkmate for black, but it leads to a queen trade. After capturing the white bishop on b4, black gains an extra pawn and exposes white's king in the endgame. This advantageous position allows black to further their attack, often castling queenside and putting pressure on white. In some cases, white may try to go after the pawn on f2 by playing king to e2, hoping to capture it. However, they may overlook that after knight to c2, they will lose their rook on h1, leading to a significant advantage for black. In conclusion, this trap in the queen's gambit declined allows black to gain an extra pawn and create a strategically advantageous position in the endgame, setting the stage for a strong attack and potential victory. As a final trap for today, let me share one of my all-time favorites, which works against the Sicilian defense. After e4 c5, you play a paradoxical move, b4. It may seem like a strange move, as black can capture the pawn either with their pawn or with the knight. However, you have a clever plan in mind. If black captures with the knight or the pawn, it leads to the same situation, where you gain control of the center with c3 and d4, threatening to push the pawn to d5. If black tries to develop their pieces, you simply push d5 anyway, creating a powerful central pawn structure. Now, you attack the knight, forcing it to move back or to another square. For instance, if it goes to e7, you can continue your attack by pushing d6, putting tremendous pressure on black's position. In one game, white played bishop to c4, targeting black's pawn on f7. Black went after the pawn on d6, trying to develop their pieces. In response, white played queen to e2 check, forcing the king to move. Then came the sinister move bishop to g5, pinning black queen and putting the queen under attack. Black loses their queen, and the game becomes heavily one-sided. White will likely go on to secure a decisive advantage or deliver a checkmate soon after. This trap is a great example of how seemingly unorthodox moves can create significant problems for opponents who are unfamiliar with the opening and its potential pitfalls. Now, it's time for a puzzle. In the given position, it's white's turn, and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments, and let's see how many of you can solve it correctly. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with future videos. Take a moment to check out the other videos appearing on your screen right now. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care and peace.